prepare this event, and with the semi-finals very close to this game, I think our players, our team will be 100% motivated, and after that we'll see.
Because Oxford now, Gary Rowett is a coach and manager who knows this division inside out, very experienced, and even since he came in, it's still fighting, to avoid the drop. Just shows you how tough this division is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's a good reminder about what we achieved together. And at the same time, if we are not fully involved, we know that we'll be punished. So no, it's not a new idea, I think, for the team.
I mean, by the same token, does it just illustrate just how much you've achieved yourself this season in taking this team, who finished close to the bottom of the division last season, to fourth in the table, as you pointed out last week, top of your division, if you like, because the 3 teams above are Premier League teams.
Yeah, I agree. And but after this achievement, we want more. I think everyone wants more. So after the season, probably we could have a view about the season. Now it's our main focus is on the playoffs, and we'll try our best to be in the best team as possible.
Total Sport North East.
Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett, MBE.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
As the teams are led out by the referee Tim Robinson. Must wish Margaret Dixon a happy birthday this week. She'll be 86. She's been a Sunderland fan since she was 6 years old. And that happy birthday comes from her daughter Susan and grandson Alex. Margaret Dixon, 86 this week. Happy birthday, Margaret.
Happy birthday,
Margaret.
Margaret.
We can bring you 3 points this afternoon here at the Kassam Stadium. The players just greeting each other in traditional fashion, up and down the line, shaking hands. The referee, as I mentioned, Tim Robinson, last in charge of a Sunderland match when Sunderland were at home to Leeds United, and that Meslier mess up at the end of the game, which resulted in a 2-2 draw against Leeds United. Luton 1-0 winners over Coventry then earlier today. Burnley 5-0 winners at Queen's Park Rangers. Sunderland will be in their white away kit this afternoon as they just peel off their tracksuit tops. Patterson in goal, Hume, Mepham, O'Neill and Yeld at the back 4. Neil, Joe, Roberts, Rigg, Lefay and Isidore is the starting 11. Dennis Serkins on the bench and expected to be involved at some point this afternoon as well. Oxford, Jamie Cumming in goal. Back 4 of Sam Long, whose family and he are Sunderland fans. Michael Hellick, Ben Nelson, who's on loan from Leicester. And in comes the Jamaican international Greg Lee at left back. Will Vaughs, Welsh international, who's got the long throw. Cameron Brannigan alongside him. And then Brimishaw Plaheta, Ruben Rodriguez and Tyler Goodrum behind striker Mark Harris, to replace this afternoon Tom Bradshaw. Bradshaw's not involved today on the bench, but Josh McKickren comes back on the bench for Oxford United this afternoon. So they make 4 changes and Sunderland make 6 changes, and the 2 captains just having a coin toss. Brannigan and Dan Neil striding back to join the huddle in the middle of the path in front of us, and at the moment it looks like Sunderland are defending the open end. As we look down from the main stand here, and all the stands actually are uniform, the other 3 stands, we're at this main stand looking down, and Sunderland will play from left to right, and they will be kicking off this afternoon. And there's a terrific atmosphere, as you would expect. And someone said that whilst in the past this stadium's always been seen as a bit of a white elephant, in the Championship, when it's full, it's actually proved to be a venue that teams don't like coming to.
No, not at all. As I said, it's different, isn't it? especially with nothing behind the goal. There's no seating, there's no stand behind the goal. It makes it a little bit different.
Yeah, it's just cars. So Patterson drives the ball up into the Oxford half. It's headed clear of Wilson Isidore by Hellett. And now break down this left-hand side. Goodrum, edge of the penalty area. He's still going. Humes trying to put a foot in. Goodrum puts it into the edge of the 6-yard box, and finally stabbed behind by Luke O'Neill for a corner to Oxford in the opening minutes.
Electrifying start.
Well, they got the ball down this left side quickly, didn't they?
Sunderland's kickoff.
Yeah. Tyler Goodrum comes down on this left-hand side to take the corner kick, the first of the afternoon. 4 Oxford players stay outside the penalty area. A lot of jostling, the ball put in low, very poor corner, but it wasn't handled very well by Job. It ricochets off him, it goes behind for another corner. Played into the near post by Goodrum.
Yeah, you've got to keep an eye on the likes of Nelson. Big lad.
Ben Nelson, 6'5", up there in the 6-yard box. It's whipped in by Goodrum again towards the back of the penalty area. Driven in, and back it comes to Goodrum on this left-hand side. He's trying to come in past Patrick Roberts, plays the ball straight at Roberts, comes back down to Goodrum. Lefay chases it out, but Brannigan puts it back inside again. And now it's finally cleared, and chasing back onto it is Plaheta. And the pole plays it back to goalkeeper Jamie Cumming. Out to Cameron Brannigan, who's really the key player for Oxford United. They're desperate to keep him fit. It's an important game for them this afternoon, especially with Luton winning. And they don't really want to go to Swansea City next week needing a point for safety. It's put behind by Greg Lee for a goal kick to Sunderland.
Thankful for that, just to calm things down.
Patterson in his green retrieves the ball. Oxford in their yellow shirts, dark navy shorts and yellow socks. Sunderland's fans over in the stand on the far side. They've got 1/3 of the stand, largely bedecked in their red and white striped tops. The fans this afternoon. The ball put out by Patterson. Kicks it straight out into that stand opposite us here. And
long throw.
I've got to say hello to Stephen and Janet, Seaburn Retros. They're listening in Mallorca this afternoon.
Lovely, nice and warm.
Hello to both of you out there in the sunshine on your wheels, freewheeling as the ball played into the penalty area. Nelson's up there for Oxford United, but they've got the ball clear again. Sunderland. Here's Brannigan in the Sunderland half, just forwards of the centre circle, trying to find Lee down the left wing. Comes back then to Goodrum, looks for Greg Lee, puts a first-time ball into the penalty area, but Job runs onto it, lays it off to Trey Hume, who's played it straight up to Sam Long. Down the right-hand side here now to Plaheta, but he's tackled by Wilson Isidore. Job gets it to Isidore, then out to Lefay, in the middle to Rigg, trying to get it down here and play it out to Hjelde. Plaheta's got in front of him and plays it back behind him. And Vaux it is, eventually plays it across on this near side to Ben Nelson. Brannigan in the centre circle, up onto the head of Plaheta, comes down for O'Neill, who just lashes it clear. And Wilson Isidore tried to win it back, but Sam Long gets it all the way back to Jamie Cumming, who's in lime green this afternoon, just outside his D. That's the Oxford Ultras, I think, behind that goal. And the ball played out to the right wing. Isidore gets his head on it, but he's lost track of it, and Will Vaux has got it, plays it back to Nelson, and Nelson, the loanee from Leicester, plays it back inside to Brannigan, who swings the ball wide right, halfway inside the Sunderland half. Hjelde flicked it off the head of Plaheta. It's a throw to Oxford.
Long throw.
It is 2/3.
And this is where,
the way
for me, Patterson's got to command his box.
So
got
for
to
the
be big
first
and
time,
strong.
we're going to see Will Vaux demonstrate his long throw. A couple of teams have dealt with it well this season, a few others haven't. And the referee's seen what? Pushing in the penalty area. He's asked for the throw to be taken again. We got a hint of what was to come though, because the ball dropped pretty much onto the penalty spot from Will Vaughan's first attempt. The referee's
You can
had a
command your
word.
box here, Patterson. Don't get blocked in. Come and take it.
Mark Harris is right on Patterson. Vaughan then again, second attempt, hurls the ball into the 6-yard box. Mepham heads it out, Isidore heads it on, drops back down to Goodrum, who's put it back in the penalty area. There's a bit of pushing and shoving going on. Players fall down, O'Nien and Hellick, but the referees let it go. Brannigan drives a shot in, a great save by Patterson. Palms it away for a corner.
Good save.
But that was a good attempt by Brannigan.
Well done, Patterson, turning that run around for a corner.
That
And
was
again, we've got to compete.
heading for the top corner by the looks
Yeah.
of things. So a third Oxford corner.
Hellick and Nelson are the two main headers here.
Yeah, they're the two big ones. Hellick 6-3. And Goodrum's gone across to take this corner from the right-hand side this time in front of the Sunderland fans. Hangs it high in the air. Isidore heads it out fairly comfortably. Comes out to Brannigan. And back to Will Vaughan in the middle. He shoots, it's over the bar. Crashes into the electronic scoreboard behind Patterson's goal. And Patterson gets it clear quickly. Looking for Isidore on the break here. He's away. He's into the penalty area, but Hellick just shoulder barges him off it.
You've got to be
Puts him
stronger.
behind for a corner.
He's got to be stronger, hasn't he? I think. It's a great kick by
Great
Patterson.
kick for Patterson to see
He's got to be
Isidore
stronger.
away, but he was knocked off the ball fairly comfortably by Mikael Hellick, 29-year-old Polish international. Corner then from the right-hand side. Patrick Roberts with this is headed at the near post away by Oxford, straight out to Chris Rigg, who drives it back in with his left foot. A half volley that sails wide of the goal. 0-0 in the 8th minute of the game. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Red kites circling the stadium. There's about 5 or 6 of them just floating about on the thermals. It's a pretty warm afternoon, sunny spells, bit of cloud, but very pleasant here in Oxford as the ball headed on through the middle to Luke O'Nien, who nods it down to Dan Neal. Dan Neal slips it to Job on the halfway line, out to Lefay on the left-hand side, taking on Sam Long. Will Vaughan cuts across as well, but Lefay plays it out to the right to Trey Hume. Hume has Roberts wide. Roberts now with Greg Lee just in front of him, and he plays it across Roberts to Luke O'Nien, just to the left of the centre circle, forwards to Lefay, back on halfway to Mepham, and Mepham now to Hume on this right-hand side, blocked by Goodrum, and a throw for Sunderland on halfway on the right-hand side. Hume will take this, and he's got Roberts, he's got Rigg. He needs some help here, really. He finds Rigg eventually, who drives it right across the pitch, and Hjelde has to come back and pick this up and slip it inside to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien now just dribbling up towards halfway, finds Dan Neal on the halfway line. He plays it wide on the left to Lefay. Joe makes a run. Lefay comes back though to Dan Neal on halfway, and now in the centre circle, plays it to Mepham. Mepham on this right-hand side to Hume. Hume back to Chris Mepham, and Mepham, under pressure from Mark Harris, will play the ball back to Anthony Patterson. Patterson with his left foot drives it out onto the left wing. Hjelde heads it back inside to Neal, back to O'Nien, and O'Nien on the left of his own midfield. He's got 3 Oxford players pushing towards him. He's just taking the ball backwards at the moment, O'Nien, and then finally finding a gap for Job on the left wing. Lefay just ahead of him. Job's taking this on. Job's still going down the left of the penalty area, corner of the penalty box. He lays it off to Lefay. Sam Long is in front of him. Lefay slips it to Dan Neal. Neal just outside the box, plays it to his right to Hume, out to Roberts. And Roberts now, Lee in front of him again. Roberts slips it inside again to Rigg. Rigg curls the ball into the penalty area, and looking for Joe. Joe brings it down. Plaheta stabs it away. Will Vauxhall has it, plays it back behind him, and it's driven upfield by Sam Long, all the way back up to Anthony Patterson. Rolls it out to O'Nien. Rochdale 1, Hartlepool 0. Here's Luke O'Nien again. 0-0 here at the Kassam Stadium in the 11th minute, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Mepham, behind him is Patterson. Patterson across to Luke O'Nien again. Sunderland in there, all white away kit. And there's a challenge on the touchline, which in the end, Plaheta puts the ball out, and a throw to Sunderland, which will be left for Hjelde to take. So Job back to Hjelde, plays it back down the touchline to Luke O'Nien, across here to Mepham. And Mepham on this right-hand side has Harris in front of him. Harris has tried to make a challenge, but Mepham's held him off, and now floats one up through towards Wilson Isidore at the edge of the penalty area, but it's headed out to Lee, inside to Vauxhall, and Will Vauxhall hooks it back into the Sunderland half, eventually drops for Dan Neil, and he tries to find Hume, which it does. Brannigan's left on the deck, and it's slipped through by Hume to Roberts and Grigg, but Rick loses out to Greg Lee, and Greg Lee plays it down the left wing over the shoulder of Chris Mepham. Mark Harris whips the ball off him though, and now trying to slip inside, rolls the ball to the edge of the area, but Goodrum's touch is a poor one, and it rolls in to the path of Luke O'Nien to get clear, and Rodriguez in fact it was. Sheffield United 1, Portsmouth 0. There's a foul on halfway on Chris Rigg, who's crouching on his knees on the halfway line. Yeah, Mark Harris won the ball off Chris Mepham. It was Ruben Rodriguez who whipped in, but hit a touch. It let him down, and in fact, I've got a funny feeling that's probably his first touch of the game, which would be one reason for that. Mepham will take the free kick. Boston 1, Gateshead 0. 0-0 here in Oxford. Brannigan's been spoken to by the referee Tim Robinson. Mepham's still waiting patiently to take the free kick. Gary Rowett, arms folded in his technical area. In fact, that actually might be the fourth official. Indeed it is. Reggie Labrie stands with his hands in his pockets. Dan Neil in the centre circle, slips it to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien down the touchline. It's played by Lefay. Back to O'Nien, forwards to Dan Neil on halfway. He's fouled. The referee's let play go on. He's played the advantage. Neil's got the ball back again and drives it out to the right wing, looking for Hume, who nods it in from the touchline. There's calls for it being...
that's a free kick.
Free kick.
That's got to be a yellow card.
Goodrum is being shown a yellow card for that. He pulled him back at the corner of the penalty area. His first yellow card of the afternoon. Hume pulled back, free kick just on the corner of the penalty area on the right hand side. 14th minute, 0-0. Robertson Lefay over the ball. Dan Neil adjusting his shoelaces. Anthony Patterson's out here on the touchline having a conversation with Alessandro Bacciarini. Brighton 1, West Ham 0.
Good delivery, that's what
so
you need.
2 in the Oxford wall. This from the right hand side. Who will take it? Roberts or Lefay?
Quality. That's what you're looking for.
Referee's ready. And it will be Lefay who drives it in.
That's a
It's
great
hooked
ball.
over the bar by Will Vauxhall. It was a very good ball, and Joe
well defended as well.
Yeah, could have gone anywhere actually. That, in all due respect. But Vauxhall got his foot to it ahead of Joe, and it's a second Sunderland corner from the left-hand side. I think Lefay has taken this one. Southampton 1, Fulham 0. A lot of movement in the penalty area. The ball whipped in, headed away powerfully by Ben Nelson. Picked up by Chris Rigg, back in the centre circle to Dan Neil. He gets it forwards to Patrick Roberts, who's looking for Rigg down the right. It will bounce in towards the corner. He just keeps it in. He's done well. He puts a cross in the box.
Oh.
It drops through Sam Long on the right side of the 6-yard box to hook clear. And that, well, just needed someone to make a,
I don't know if
make a move, make a run.
did it catch Wilson by surprise? Do you think?
I'm not sure. It's a great ball back in. Rochdale 1, Hartlepool 1. 0-0 here. Mepham leaves it for O'Nien. O'Nien driving this up towards Isidore at the edge of the penalty area. Headed clear, only to Jobe. Jobe turns away from Vaux, gets the ball to Lefay, back into Rigg at the edge of the D. Yellow shirts all around him, and Brannigan comes away and is fouled. Free kick to Oxford. Brannigan went to take it quickly. Rigg was just stood in front of him. So Nelson, Ben Nelson, I think he's going to leave it for the goalkeeper, Jamie Cumming. And he's Preston 0, Plymouth 1. Plymouth enjoying some late form, probably too late. Preston not out of trouble themselves. Like Oxford, really need a point to confirm their place in the Championship next season. Ball drops for Hume. Plays it back to the halfway line. Hellick, the pole, plays it out. Throw to Sunderland on this right-hand side. We're in the 17th minute now. No goals here yet. Patterson's pulled off a very good save early in the game. The ball comes back to Luke O'Nien in the corner on the right-hand side. He plays it into Patterson. Harris goes to close him down. Patterson drills it out down the left wing. Hjelde keeps it in. He's tapped it on now for Lefay to run onto. Lefay taking it round the back of Hellick and slipping down the left of him into the penalty area. Rolling it to Hjelde on the goal line, trying to pull it back. But it's a goal kick.
I don't know.
Defender on his shoulder.
Was Hjelde expecting that?
Not sure. Good break. Lefay trying to get round Hellick and trying to wrong foot him. Here is Hellick on the right side of the 6-yard box with the ball at his feet. Taps it back to Cumming, and Cumming.
Anything other Sunderland starting to get a grip of the game, aren't they?
Yeah.
We strung 1 or 2 passes together.
The ball with Hellick again across to Ben Nelson, the 21-year-old. He drives it up onto the head of Gudrun. Harris through the middle. Mepham has to get the ball, nods it down off him, but in comes Rodriguez, finds Plaheta at the edge of the penalty area on the right-hand side, and he brings it back out into the middle, leaves it for Vaux, who plays it down the right-hand side again to Rodriguez, inside to Plaheta, and back to Vaux, and then out to Long, back to Vaux on the right side. He drives the ball straight at Lefay at the edge of the penalty area on the left, and Lefay he's trying to dribble around Rodriguez.
He needs help.
It's a block, and it's won back by Oxford, but Harris couldn't control it when it came to in the penalty area, and Sunderland got it clear. Now with Dan Neil in the middle, leaves it for Lefay on the left-hand side, and he chips it up the left-hand side, looking for Jobe. Headed away by Hellick, though. Comes back. Well, Hjelde's caught the Oxford player. I'm not sure who he is at the minute, but the player was trying to go round Hjelde, who blocks him. Thinks he's fine. He's sitting up. Boston 1, Gateshead 1. It's Rodriguez he caught. So free kick to Oxford on the right, third of the way inside the Sunderland half, a couple of yards in from the right-hand touchline.
And they concentrate on set pieces, don't they, Oxford?
And Sunderland have got their players lined up just outside the penalty area, a good 20 yards out. The free kick will be taken by Gudrun, whips it in towards the penalty spot. Hjelde heads it out. Greg Lee will run onto this, nods it back to Brannigan. He tries to drive it in, it comes off Dan Neil, bounces off Gudrun out to Lee, or off Nelson out to Lee, and back out into midfield. Plaheta trying to find Gudrun, but he plays it straight to Hjelde, who couldn't clear it properly, slipped over as he did so. Lee on the left, but it's whipped off him by Patrick Roberts. Hume, and now Neil gives it straight to Brannigan. Brannigan to Rodriguez, the corner of the penalty area on the left. Gudrun trying to stab it to Plaheta, but straight to Lefay. Lefay lifting it up into the Oxford half. Nelson's there with Wilson Isidore on his shoulder, but Nelson turns it away straight to Chris Rigg on the right wing, and Vaux stabs it out for a throw to Sunderland. just inside the Oxford half.
I think Wilson Isidore's movement's got to be better.
Well, with the bench that they've got today, it looks like he's going to have to play the whole game, isn't it? Because we haven't got this afternoon. Here's Joe. Sunderland the free kick. It's halfway between the penalty area and the touchline. Just passing it out, well, he was going to pass it out to Mepham, and then he finally does, makes his mind up. Mepham on this right-hand side, closed down by Rodriguez, back to Patterson, and across on the left side.
Wilson's movement's got to be better. He's got to make some runs, hasn't he?
He's got to stay on side.
Yeah.
That's one.
You know, he's got to go in the channel.
think
That's
he's
what they're
gonna try
looking for, and he's not.
Hume on the right in his own half still. Back to Mepham. Mepham in the middle, cross to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien now trying to find Lefay down the left wing, and in the end it's Sam Long who finds him, heads it straight to him, and then to Job, now looking for Isidore, who crosses. He's stayed on side. Roberts is trying to get on the end of it, but Lee's beaten him to it on the left of the penalty area, the Oxford left, and he gets it clear up to the halfway line. Harris challenged by Rigg, doesn't get the ball. Brannigan does, and then a foul on Brannigan, and Brannigan just shoves Rigg off the ball. Rigg protests to the referee, but it's a free kick to Oxford. Sheffield United 1, Portsmouth 1.
Wednesday.
Was it Sheffield Wednesday, was it? Sorry, apologies there. Here's Mepham at the edge of the penalty area to O'Nien, and now across to, of course, Sheffield United played last night, didn't they?
Yeah.
Winning at Stoke. The ball drops to Joe, but a free kick on the far side, halfway inside the Sunderland half forward.
Another long throw
Oxford,
in.
and that's a throw, long throw. Again from Will Vauxhall.
You just feel at times Sunderland a little bit lackadaisical, aren't they? You know, with the passing, just a little more urgency.
No, he took a shorter throw this time to Plaheta. Then he puts a cross in, Vauxhall, headed out by Hume to the edge of the area, and Harris volleys it over into the car park. Hits the back of a Volkswagen Polo.
Oh,
Patterson.
Who's running?
Two stewards
Racing for the ball.
racing in there. It's event traffic management staff have run to catch to gather the ball in their luminous yellow tops and luminous orange trousers. Struggling to find it by the looks of things. The ball kicked by Patterson up into the Oxford half, back onto halfway, laid off to Brannigan in the middle, floats the ball down the right, headed away by Hjelde to Lefay. Joe's making a run. Lefay's tackled by Rodriguez. In fact, a foul and a yellow card for the Portuguese. Joining Gudrun in the book.
They're making a mark, aren't they?
Physical. So the free kick is a third of the way inside the Oxford half, wide on the left, tapped by Lefay to Hjelde, and Hjelde pauses a moment. Job's come back in support. Job to Neil in the centre circle. Neil to Mepham just to the right of the centre circle, and Mepham taking it on, slipping it to Patrick Roberts and Hume. Roberts tried to get it inside to Rigg, but Lee has managed to dig this one out for Oxford, back up into the Sunderland half. It's an up and under from Luke O'Nien, which is headed away from Dan Neil by Will Vauxhall. Now Harris trying to get it. Mepham's all over him, and it's a free kick to Oxford. Rochdale 3, Hartlepool 1. Harris feels that Mepham was fouling him more than the referee's given. He's indicating he was kicked. I think he's trying to demonstrate, Mark Harris, what Chris Mepham was doing. Vauxhall with the free kick, floats into the penalty area, and a good header in. It's Ben Nelson. You warned that Ben Nelson was a threat. It's on the end of that Will Vauxhall free kick and heads it into the bottom right corner.
Yeah, free header. But again, for me, Nick, you've got to command your box, isn't it? The ball's in the air a long, long time before Nelson's come and headed it in. I just think, could Patterson come and get it? Could he come and punch it? But saying that, who's ever marking him has got to challenge him. It was a free header. And that's what we talked about, you know, with being given away easy, simple free kicks. We said that's their strongest point is free kicks.
It's his first goal for Oxford.
And that's what Luke O'Nien's might be saying to Patterson. You've got to come and get the ball.
So Oxford United take the lead just short of the half hour here
You've got to command your box.
Ben Nelson heading it.
Got to be strong.
Patterson. 1-0 then. Oxford lead. Sunderland looking to try and get back as soon as possible down the left of the Oxford penalty area. Lefay goes down on the edge of the area, but no free kick. Plaheta is bringing the ball out for Oxford, but progress is blunted on the halfway line, and Sunderland trying to get the ball forwards again. Down the left-hand side, they win a throw.
You can't keep giving away free kicks. That's their strongest point. We've said that. We mentioned the likes of Pellick and Ben Nelson.
Joe to Kjelder, plays it back into the Sunderland half to Patterson. Now to Mepham, and Mepham drives it up, looking for Rigg. It was much too hard, his pass. It's gone behind for a goal kick to Oxford.
We just need a little bit more intensity. It just seems lackadaisical at times.
We've got just under a quarter of an hour until half time.
Soft goal. That's their, you know what their strongest points are.
Here's Walks laying the ball off to Hellick. Hellick out wide then to Plaheta. He pushes it on to Rodriguez on the halfway line. Neil trying to win it back. Lefay's there as well. And in the end, Lefay does come away with the ball, but he loses it. Rodriguez looking for Harris. He just overhit it. Back to Anthony Patterson, who rolls it to Luke O'Nien, just outside the Sunderland penalty area, and wide on the left to Leo Kjelder. Kjelder back to O'Nien. O'Nien across here to Mepham. Wide is Hume, of course. Here he is now. Slipped it on to Roberts. Back to Hume. Drives it down the right for Rigg, but beaten to it by Ben Nelson, who slides in, concedes a throw to Sunderland. And roused behind Cummings' goal away to our right, the Oxford fans. Cheltenham 0, Carlisle 1. Potentially a massive goal for Carlisle, but it looks like it could go to the wire. It could be all over them today if they can't hang on to that lead at Cheltenham. Here's Hume. Hume under pressure from Goodrum. Hume comes back to halfway and then slipped it into the middle to Luke O'Nien. And O'Nien across here now to Kjelder. Wide, just short of halfway, looking for the run of Lefay, but Hellick will get there ahead of him in the corner and let the ball run out behind and just shoulder barges Lefay away for the goal kick. So Cummings goes back to retrieve the ball, brings it back to the centre of his 6-yard line, then throws the ball back to the corner of the 6-yard box for Mikhail Hellick, who taps it back to Cumming. Closed down by Isidore. He kicks wide left, looking for Lee, drops over his and Hume's shoulder for a Sunderland throw on halfway, which Hume will take back to Mepham. Mepham across to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien back to Patterson in the D at the edge of his penalty area. Back out to O'Nien on that left-hand side. Oxford leading 1-0. Here's Job again. Back again to the edge of the area to Luke O'Nien. And O'Nien, 35th minute now to Job. Job pushing it on down the left to Isidore, inside to Job again. And then back out to the left wing, inside to Dan Neal, looking for Isidore just outside the penalty area. It's in the air. Isidore trying to win it, manages to get it down to Lefay on the left edge of the penalty area. He plays it back now to Hume, just outside the box, puts a cross in, and is headed away by Hellick. Comes down on the edge of midfield to Lefay. Out to Hume again on the right. He slips the ball through to Rigg on the goal line, pulls it back. Isidore tries to swing his right foot at it, but it's blocked just in front of the goalkeeper and cleared by Oxford. All the way back up to Luke O'Nien now inside the Sunderland half. He leaves it for Patterson. Patterson closed down by Harris. Luke O'Nien again forwards to Neil. Out on the left to Hjelde. Back again to O'Nien. And now to Mepham. And Mepham bringing it up to halfway. He's got Roberts just ahead of him. He's got Hume wide. He goes for Trey Hume on the right touchline. Hume cuts inside again. Goodrum goes with him. Hume plays it across now to Leo Hjelde. And down the left of the penalty area again to Lefay. Lefay comes across the back on his right foot. Drives it over the bar. Cheltenham 1, Carlisle 1. At the foot of League 2. Carlisle have to win to maintain any hope of remaining in the Football League. Goal kick then for Oxford United. Hellick places the ball on the right corner of the 6-yard box. A hazy afternoon now here in Oxford as Isidore goes to close down Cumming, but Cumming gets the ball away down the left-hand side out for a throw to Sunderland. Ball boy hurls the ball at Trey Hume. Hume takes the throw back to Mepham. Mepham plays it across to O'Nien. O'Nien has got Rodriguez just in front of him, plays it to Lefay, who gets it back again from Neil. And then Lefay tapping it back to O'Nien. O'Nien to Neil. Neil at the edge of the centre circle, back to O'Nien and out to Hjelde. Looking to play it down the left wing. Sam Long brings it down, clears it in front of Joe, straight to Enzo Lefay. Finally comes down to Dan Neil, trying to get it through to Isidore. One back by Oxford. Rodriguez back to Hellick, who gets it back to the goalkeeper, who comes to the edge of his area and taps it out to Ben Nelson, the goal scorer. And out again to Nelson on this left-hand side. Swings his left foot through it. It comes into the Sunderland half. It's put out by Hume for a throw on the Oxford left for the home team. And Greg Lee,
Another long throw, Nick.
is going to take this. No, he's not. He's waiting for Vauxhall to come up. And presumably will be a long throw. There's nobody really. Goodrum's across here, but although he's half looking at Goodrum, Vauxhall, now he's decided to step back a few yards. So I think we are going to see another ball hurled into the Sunderland penalty area in the 38th minute. In it comes, up goes Nelson, but it's headed away by Mepham. Isidore heads it out, drops straight to Plaheta, who plays it back behind him to Brannigan, across to Goodrum, and then down this left-hand side to Vauxhall again, who's swung a ball up towards the edge of the penalty area. Lee leaps for it, O'Nien nods it back to Patterson. Boston 2, Gateshead 1. Here in the 39th minute, it's Oxford 1, Sunderland 0. Dan Neil from the edge of the D plays the ball out to Hjelde on the left-hand side. Hjelde just plays it back to Patterson, passes it out to Mepham. Mepham now plays it back to Luke O'Nien at the edge of the penalty area. Cumming actually hasn't had a save.
But I just was going to mention that, Nick. As much as we, at times playing nice, it's too nice, isn't it? We haven't worked the goalkeeper.
No, he hasn't been. There was one block a few minutes ago by a defender, but the keeper's not actually been stretched in any shape or form by Sunderland. Here's Hume, blocked by Goodrum. It falls to Harris. Harris inside to Rodriguez, back out to Goodrum on the left-hand side. Shakes off Hume, he shoots over.
Tell you what, we'd like to do if we could. Nick. We just look, I don't know, lethargic.
Haven't won, of course, since the 1-0 win at West Brom. A lot of people, when looking back at that game, say, well, to be honest, the keeper should have done a lot better from the free kick. So it's a run of games which Sunderland, well, as you say, you just can't flick that switch.
You can't.
Neil to Hume on halfway, back inside to
Bellingham.
Mepham.
Is he?
Is it his boot?
Limping a little bit, or is it just because his boot has slipped off him? He's just trying to. He's looked a bit winded, doesn't he, Job? He's bent double for a moment, taking his breath, getting his breath back. Here's O'Nien in the centre circle with Dan Neil, who just rolls it to O'Nien on the left on the halfway line, then wide to Lefay. He's given the ball straight here to Rodriguez through the middle. Dan Neil's trying to come back here. Rodriguez still going, and then he runs into trouble and still manages to find Goodrum behind him, and then walks, and out on the right is played back eventually to Helic on the centre spot, and then Nelson on halfway, closed down by Rigg, and Nelson gives the ball away to Roberts, looking for the run of Isidore coming out to the edge of the area.
That's what we're talking about, you know, timing and getting minutes under your belt, making the right pass.
Hume heads the clearance away from Oxford to Neil through the middle now. Rigg on halfway, drives it straight at Ben Nelson. Roberts has to jog back from the right wing position where he was hoping to get the ball from Rigg. Brannigan in the middle of the Oxford half for Oxford. Just passes it to Helic. Oxford leading 1-0, of course, in the 42nd minute now. The ball floated down the right and headed away by Luke O'Nien, straight to an Oxford player. Walks forwards to Rodriguez. Gelder tries to win it back. He does so and finds Job, but the ball is an optimistic one. If it's going to reach anybody, it reaches Lee. And then is passed out by Nelson back out to Lee on the left wing. And he drives it forwards into the Sunderland half again, looking for the run of Mark Harris, who's pushed slightly by O'Nien, but still retains possession. Slips it inside to Rodriguez, through the legs of Mepham, who blocks him. Free kick to Oxford. I think Harris is trying to say it's about time you book Mepham.
He's going to get booked.
And he is booked. I think he...
It's too easy, you know, they
ran
look
out of
sharper
lives,
than
Mepham.
us.
Yeah. So referee speaking to
Too easy at times.
Free kick's just a yard or so outside the penalty area in midfield on the left.
Brannigan will fancy this.
Oxford leading through that 29th minute Ben Nelson header. And now Brannigan, Vaux, Goodrum around the ball at the moment, but I think Vaux is going to wander off. He's having a conversation with the captain. Tim Robinson comes back, the referee, all in black this afternoon. Tim Robinson has a quick word with Brannigan. I think it literally was a word. Plahetter's come across to join this little meeting.
He's going to hit it. Brannigan fancies it.
Brannigan looks the prime suspect, if you like, in this.
You've got to stay together with the wall.
Situation.
Stay
And
together.
stab to Brannigan, right foot slams it past the post, and it's a goal kick to Sunderland. A kick from Patterson up onto the head of Nelson. He heads it back over the halfway line. It's headed on by Lee. Hume. It's passed back here and trying to get across to it is Harris, but Mepham
I think
puts it out.
that pass just sums Sunderland up in the first 45 minutes, Nick. Very sloppy. We are
44
not at the
minutes.
races.
It's going to be another long throw from Will Vaux here. Back. No, in fact, it's not. He's gone back to Goodrum. And Goodrum swings the ball into the penalty area, headed out by Lefay. It'll drop to Brannigan in the middle with Plahetter. Plahetter, Isidore goes to close him down. Back to Brannigan onto the halfway line then. Helic sweeps it up straight to Hume, now to Job. And Job looking for the break on the left-hand side for Dan Neil. Brannigan blocks him. Free kick to Sunderland just inside the Oxford United half on the left-hand side. In the last minute of the 45, and maybe get a minute, 2 minutes added on. Here's Mepham. Leaves it for Hume. Closed down by Goodrum, plays it back to Patterson. He puts his right foot through it under pressure from Rodriguez. Isidore managed to head it down to the edge of the area, but Helic hooks it clear, and it'll come all the way back into the Sunderland half, wide on the left to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien across to Mepham here. Mepham, Hume to his right, plays it to Trey Hume on this right-hand side. That's just about the 45 played as Roberts tries to come away with the ball here. Roberts with 1 minute to play. The edge of the area is tackled by Lee and then tapped out by Helic to Vaux and then to Goodrum on this left-hand side, who sweeps it out for a throw to Sunderland with 40 seconds of the minimum minute left at the end of this first half. Hume will take the throw to Dan Neal, back to Hume, across on the far side to Hjelde, on to Joe, but he had to stretch and Vaux gets the ball off him fairly comfortably. Forced to Plaheta in the middle, trying to win it back is Hjelde, but the pole digs it out and finds Nelson. On to Goodrum on this left-hand side, and Goodrum now, Hume just in front of him, he gets it on down the left-hand side to Rodriguez. Mepham's on his shoulder, Rodriguez inside to Brannigan. Harris loses out to O'Nien, and that's the minimum minute played. So we're into a second minute of added time. It comes up to Job, and there's the half-time whistle. Oxford will head in at the interval leading by 1-0. I have to say, you're absolutely right about Sunderland, that they aren't at the races in so many ways. But then the other side of the coin is Oxford have something to play for. They're playing for their championship survival here.
Yeah, they're playing for championship survival. Nick, we're playing to get ourselves prepared to go into the playoffs. Now, if that's not an incentive, what is? You've got to go out there and put a shift in. You've got to do things quicker. At the present moment, as you've just mentioned, Oxford are playing for their lives. So are Sunderland. They want it more than us. There's no tempo, no intensity, there's no pace to the game, there's no quality. You know what Oxford are all about. You know what their strengths are before a ball's kicked. They're going to go for free kicks, long balls. What you need is people who's in the heart of defence, who's going to go and head the ball. You need your goalkeeper to come and command the box. You know what it's all about. You're thinking, how's Oxford going to score from a set piece? That's how they're going to score. You've got to defend it.
Playing devil's advocate here, is there part of the psyche, if you like, these Sunderland players do not want to get injured?
Oh, you can't use that. No, they shouldn't play. If you're going out on that pitch, I'm thinking, I don't want to get injured. It's a waste of time playing because you're playing with 10 men, 9 men, 8 men. If that's what it's all about, I don't want to play because I've got a big game coming up. Don't put a shirt on.
Is there anything? What would you? Sorry. What would your address be at half time then on the evidence of the first 45 minutes? What would you look to change? What would you say?
What would I look to change? Yeah. They've got to change their mental attitude. They've got to make sure that they start doing things quicker. Are they a good team? Are they better than Oxford? You've got to go out there and show it. Are you stronger? Do you want to win the physical battles? Stop giving the ball away. Stop putting it out for throw-ins. It's too easy. That's their strength. Throw-ins. We do it too easy. We just kick the ball out. You know what's coming next. Are you going to be able to deal with that? No, we're not.
Interesting that it's Ben Nelson's first goal for the club. Sometimes that tells your own story, that other teams have dealt with Helic and Nelson when they come up for set pieces.
Nick, me and you are sat up here. We can see before that happened, before they scored a goal, what did we say? The two people you've got to pick up, Helic and Ben Nelson. Two big lads. You've got to go and compete. You might not win the ball, but don't let them get free headers.
Of course, now Oxford United have got something to hold on to.
Of course
they've got something to defend.
And again, we've got to show a little bit of character now, and show, can we get back into the game?
Well, at half time here, 1-0 to Oxford United. There's a bit of drama at St James's Park. Let's join Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson.
Isak against Palmer. We're ready now. Isak to the back of the box, hands on hips. Goalkeeper moving along his line. Isak comes forward and it's into the net. Low down from Isak to the goalkeeper's left. He has his 26th of the season. And eventually, the opener, it's Newcastle United 1, Ipswich 0.
Yeah, good penalty, wasn't it? Goalkeeper guessed right, but there's too much power in it. He's not stopping that. Just put his foot right through it.
Isak smashing it home from the penalty spot. Surpassed his tally of last season in total, which was 25, but also in Premier League terms. Last season he got 21. Now he has 22 in the Premier League this year. So setting new records in a Newcastle shirt, Alexander Isak, and they lead. It's been hard work, John Anderson, in many respects, but the goal is what they need.
Yeah, came at the right time as well.
And the referee will put himself out of his misery.
Oh,
he blows for the half-time break in a second.
He's been abysmal.
Ipswich kick off. Well, there's going to be a little bit of time to play. They have 10 men, remember, the visitors. Newcastle with the lead, and they'll be shooting downhill in the second half. Just got to see this out for a few more seconds. We're into a 51st minute. Delap on the left wing, given away to Cher, up to Isak, who slips as he attempted to help it on. It's out for a throw to the visitors in blue. And Greaves up the line. Delap's header goes straight back to Greaves, who heads it up, and Trippier away, but out for a throw on halfway, and there is the half-time whistle.
I'd love to see the referee's assessor's report, you know.
Why don't you produce one of your own?
Oh, hey. Dear, oh dear.
But they're leading, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, the penalty just came at the right time, didn't it? Right on the stroke at half-time. And Ciso, who's been awful for them. Not too sure what he's thinking of. Just a pull back. But we haven't been at our best, but we're still leading 1-0. Kicking down the hill second half, you would expect us to be better.
And Ipswich down to 10 men, but Newcastle in the lead through Alexander Isak. Stoppage time penalty at the end of the first half. Newcastle United 1, Ipswich Town 0.
This is what you fell in love with.
Lovely little turn. Shoots right footed.
This is original football.
And it's in! It's a brilliant goal!
On Saturday, it's Crystal Palace
Sends in the cross, and it's 2 goals in 4 minutes.
versus Aston Villa.
All his players run to celebrate with those fans.
The FA Cup semi-finals. Today, watch on iPlayer, listen on BBC Sounds. Total Sport Northeast.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
It has been action-packed at St James's Park at half-time. Newcastle United leads 10-man Ipswich by 1-0 at the Kassam Stadium. Sunderland are 1-0 down to Oxford United. Ben Nelson with a header on the half-hour mark. We'll be back with our respective commentary teams very shortly. We'll be back with Sunderland sooner than we will Newcastle. Quite a big stagger between the two second halves getting underway. Elsewhere across the footballing divisions then, in the Premier League, the early game saw Chelsea beat Everton 1-0 thanks to Nicholas Jackson. At half-time, Ayari has Brighton 1-0 up on West Ham. Southampton already relegated 1-0 up on Fulham Stevens after 14 minutes. And Mateusz Cunha has given Wolves a 1-0 lead over also already relegated Leicester City.
Total Sport Northeast.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Earlier today, Celtic won 5-0 at Dundee United to win the Scottish Premiership. In the Championship, it finished Luton 1, Coventry City 0. Luton scoring through Baptiste in the 90th minute after both teams had had a man sent off. Burnley won 5-0 at Queen's Park Rangers as well. In the 3 o'clock games, hardly any goals. Blackburn against Watford, Cardiff against West Brom, Hull against Derby, Middlesbrough against Norwich. Millwall 1-0 up on Swansea thanks to George Saville. Plymouth 1-0 up away at Preston. That's huge down the bottom of the table. And the final game in the Championship of the 3 o'clocks anyway, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Portsmouth 1.
Total Sport Northeast.
The Newcastle and Sunderland AFC podcast.
On BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
In League 1, in the two early games, Reading won 2-0 away at Bristol Rovers, and Wycombe Wanderers lost 1-0 away at Leyton Orient. It means if Wrexham win later on, they are promoted. Shrewsbury already down or 1-0 up away at Barnsley. This is in League One, of course. Burton Albion 0, Cambridge United 0 at half-time. Both teams are the man sent off inside first half stoppage time. Crawley in big relegation trouble, but lead Northampton 1-0 at half-time. Exeter 1, Huddersfield 1. Peterborough 1, Bolton 1, Lincoln 2-0 up at Stockport County. John Mellish, formerly of Gateshead, has scored Wigan's only goal there, 1-0 up on Blackpool at half-time. And that 5:30 game that could decide promotion, Wrexham against Charlton.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And in League 2, Carlisle United are being relegated as it stands. They were 1-0 up at Cheltenham, but they're now 2-1 down. They have to win and hope that Tranmere don't. Tranmere are leading Crewe Alexandra 1-0 at half-time as well. Elsewhere, Port Vale 2-0 winners at AFC Wimbledon. That's enough to see them promoted. Doncaster beat Bradford City, thanks to Billy Sharp in the 91st minute. They are also promoted as well. Those were the two early games. The rest of the 3 o'clocks then, Notts County 3-1 up. Sorry, that's a full-time. Notts County 3-1 up at Harrogate. Barrow lead Bromley 1-0 at half-time. Chesterfield through Will Grigg, former Sunderland striker, beating Morecambe 1-0 at the break. Fleetwood and Newport County is goalless. So too is Gillingham against Swindon. So too is MK Dons against Grimsby. Salford City are 3-0 up at Colchester. And Accrington Stanley are 1-0 up away at Walsall.
Total Sport North East.
Get the latest team news, score updates and post-match reaction on Twitter at BBC Newcastle.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into non-league, we start in the National League. The good news, Altrincham are losing 4-0 at Dagenham and Redbridge. The bad news, Gateshead are losing 2-1 at Boston United. Luke Hannett equalised for them. 2-1 down, Gateshead at half-time. Also in that division of relevance, Halifax drawing 0-0 at home to Braintree. Rochdale 3-1 up on Hartlepool. If Gateshead turn it round, there's a chance they could confirm a playoff place today. But that would only happen if they won and Southend, who play Wealdstone at 5:30, failed to win. Not looking particularly likely at the moment. Elsewhere in non-league then, South Shields 4-0 down at Marine in National League North on the last day of their season. In the NPL Premier Division, Hebburn are 2-0 up at Baseford, Robbie Spence and Joe Postel. Blythe Spartans were 1-0 up, then 2-1 down at home to Worksop. It's now 2-all, 0-0 and Zach Simpson. Morpeth drawing 0-0 at Warrington at half-time. In the East Division, Ashington is 0-0 away at Bradford Park Avenue. Consett are now 2-0 down at Emley. Heaton Stannington have equalised late in the first half to be drawing 1-all at home to North Ferriby. Jerrington with that goal. But our featured game of the day is at Dunstan, taking on Stocksbridge Park Steels. Paul Dixon can tell us how it's gone.
Not a good half for Dunstan, Colin. It's Dunstan 0, Stocksbridge Seals 1. And they scored very early, in fact, as early as the first minute when on their first attack. Dunstan defence were appealing to the referee for fouls. The referee would have none of it. The ball fell to Olivia Greslak from 12 yards out and fired low into the corner net. The Dunstan give her down to no chance whatsoever. 1-0 down after a minute. And then Dunstan picked themselves up and came into the game. And a great chance across from the right from Alfie Turnbull found Sadu Jarlo. And for me, he could, or he should have really scored, but it was still 1-0. And then on the half hour, Jarlo again turned quickly in the box. Great effort on goal, but Ben Townsend and the Stocksbridge goal made a brilliant save diving low. And then on 35 minutes, JJ Crisp at the back post. Great opportunity with a header. Harvey Neary clipped the ball in, and there was Crisp to head past the post. A real good opportunity for Dunstan. Dunstan manager John McDonald has made a few changes. I'm wondering if he wanted to bring them on early in the second half. But they've got a battle and a game on here against Stocksbridge Steels. It's Dunstan 0, Stocksbridge Steels 1.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. In the Northern League Division 1 playoff semi-final as well, Blythetown 2-0 up at Shildon now. They could be playing Newcastle Blue Star in the playoff final next weekend. That would be quite something. We'll go through all of the local football in the roundup at 5:45.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
At breakfast.
So we're chatting today about a bloke who's got a grandma pod where you can get advice from grandmas. So we're talking about wisdom from your grannies. Tony?
Always eat your crusts because you get curly hair.
Oh,
and look, it's wavy. So.
You're right. Rebecca?
I've got Posh Grandma and Raji Nana.
Yeah.
So obviously Raji Nana. Should I go out tonight? Yes, go out. Tom?
Oh, I used to get told that the cow pat in the countryside was good for your lungs.
I live in the countryside. I smell it a lot. I've got asthma. Anna Foster in for Matt. I'll be back Monday morning from 6.
Breakfast.
Weekdays from 6.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
What an afternoon of sport it is on this Saturday. Newcastle United leading Ipswich by 1-0. Sunderland 1-0 down at Oxford United. Such a difference in when the second halves are going to start that I apologise to Sunderland fans who are not going to hear from Dean Gray at the rugby or from Martin Emerson at the cricket, but your second half's going to start in a minute. So if you are listening and you want to be listening to Sunderland, to Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett, Oxford against Sunderland, it's on DAB and on Freeview Channel 711, and we will be handing back to them on those frequencies now.
Half-time highlights.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Walks with the free kick, floats into the penalty area, and a good header in. It's Ben Nelson. You warned that Ben Nelson was a threat. It's on the end of that Will Balks for the ball and heads it into the bottom right corner.
Yeah, free header. But again, for me, Nick, you've got to command your box, isn't it? The ball's in the air a long, long time before Nelson's come and headed it in. I just think, could Patterson come and get it? Could he come and punch it? But saying that, who's ever marking him has got to challenge him. It was a free header. And that's what we talked about, you know, with being given away easy, simple free kicks.
Total Sport North East.
Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett, MBE.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
So no changes for the second half. Sunderland away to our right in their all-one. Defending the goal behind which there is actually a stand. Oxford United defending the goal to our left, which has no stand behind it. As we look down from the main stand, it's Sunderland playing from right to left, but it's Oxford who get the second half underway. Brannigan hooking a ball down the left wing towards the corner of the penalty area, but it's headed away by Trey Hume. And then played on now by Rigg out to Roberts from halfway on the right-hand side. Hume, the ball rolls back to. He finds the head of Sam Long, who heads it up into the Sunderland half. And Mepham is penalised for a challenge just inside the Sunderland half. So a free kick to Oxford just to the left of the centre circle.
Yeah, you'd expect Sunderland to play with a little bit more tempo this second half, Nick.
But at some point, I think we're going to see Dennis Sirkin come on. He'll come on for Hjelde to get Sirkin some minutes, to get him back as Oxford just to the left of the centre circle. Ben Nelson stays up in the
You've got to deal with the
middle
free kick.
With a free kick floated up into the penalty area, the edge of the penalty area. And Sam Long is kept in on the goal line. Everyone just stood watching. And the ball is played back to Flaheta into Lee, comes down on a bicycle kick attempted by Hellick, and finally drops to the edge of the area. Goodrum's shot blocked. Sunderland can't get this clear. Eventually, Isidore runs onto it. The player goes down, and the free kick has been given to Oxford just outside the penalty area.
I think that free kick just sums Sunderland up because it's been flicked on, and I think they just stopped and thought that the ball was going to go out for play. Somebody's got to take responsibility.
Well, the Sunderland 11 is Patterson in goal, Hume, Mepham, O'Nien and Hjelde, Neil, Job, Roberts, Rigg, Lafay and Isidore. Oxford United coming in goal, back four of Long, Hellick, Nelson and Lee. A midfield of Vaux and captain Brannigan. Flaheta, Rodriguez and Goodrum behind striker Mark Harris.
Brannigan will fancy this. Because we haven't cleared our lines, we've ended up giving a free kick right, 20 yards out.
20 yards,
Brannigan
the wall
fancy
is,
this.
it's about 22 yards, the wall is formed in the middle of the penalty area along the line of the penalty spot. And so in with the right foot drive, Brannigan and it's stabbed home. Hellick manages to get his right foot on the loose ball dropped by Patterson. Now the other centre half now doubles the lead for Oxford United. Just 3 minutes into the second half.
They've only got their own selves to blame, Nick. I think it was Nelson again, isn't it? I think. Who scored it?
Hellick. The pole, the 6'3" centre half. After Brannigan's
Hellick.
Free kick was spilled by.
Two centre backs have scored.
Yeah.
And again, it's a sloppy start, Nick.
So terrific strike initially by Brannigan, but Patterson got behind it but couldn't keep hold of it. And Hellick was the quickest to react. And so Mikael Hellick with his 6th goal of the season, his 4th for Oxford United, having moved here from Huddersfield in January. 2-0 then to Oxford United. And Sunderland giving themselves a lot to do now this afternoon. A team that's not been scoring a lot of goals of late. Isidore, their only recognised striker in the squad, with the absence of Mienda. And now Oxford leading 2-0. So the ball with Lefay on this left-hand side. It's lost to Vaux. He's trying to lob Patterson, and the ball bounces wide of the post as Patterson was chasing back. That would have been embarrassing.
It would have been embarrassing. Because again, we've lost the ball in the middle of the park. And if it was on target, it was a goal. No urgency, Nick.
Oxford United in the driving seat then. Just a few miles from where they build minis at Cowley. Oxford 2, Sunderland 0. Header by Oxford back into the Sunderland half. O'Nien trying to get it forwards again. Comes back to Mepham. Across to Hume. Hume. Optimistic ball played down the right wing. Comes back to Ben Nelson. Hook back up towards the halfway line. Roberts trying to get on the end of it, but Will Vaux just drives it back upfield. And Mepham has to do the tidying up. Plays it across to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien now back to Mepham. We're in the 51st minute now. And it's played across to O'Nien again on this left-hand side. And a tap to Bellingham. Bellingham back to O'Nien. And O'Nien looking for, on the right wing, Trey Hume, halfway inside the Oxford United half. And Hume taking it into the middle now. Hjelde in a bit of space at the edge of the area. He's got Lefay, who pulls the ball back into the penalty area. Brannigan heads it away. Rodriguez pushes it back, and it's cleared by Vaux up over the halfway line, but O'Nien wins it and plays it down to Lefay in front of Regis Lebris. Lefay managed to squeeze it past Plaheta, back to Mepham in the centre circle to Dan Neal, and Neal out wide to Roberts. Halfway inside the Oxford half, runs into Goodrum, and Goodrum's all over Roberts. In the end, Roberts does manage to get it back to Dan Neal, inside then to Chris Rigg, and he rolls it to Luke O'Nien at the edge of the centre circle. O'Nien to Joe, Brighton 1, West Ham 1.
I'm just looking at Wilson Isidore's movement.
Or lack of it.
Lack of it. Movement.
Here's Rodriguez. Plaheta's making a run. Plaheta runs onto this. O'Nien's chasing him. Plaheta into the penalty area, and he squeezed it just wide. He pulled it across the face of Patterson. I think Patterson, did he get a fingertip to it?
No, it's difficult.
He didn't. The Oxford players are saying there should be a corner. They're all appealing to the referee. They all felt that Patterson just got the tips of his fingers to the ball, but the referee disagrees. And Plaheta was clear.
They're all over the place, Nick.
He will think he should have made that 3-0. Here's Jobe. Jobe up to the halfway line. Left of the centre circle. Cuts across the centre circle. Trying to find Hume. Hume down to Rigg on that right-hand side. Rigg looking for Hume. Cut out by Greg Lee. Lee gives the ball away to Neal. Neal runs into Vaux. Vaux tried to tackle him, but Neal's tackled by Brannigan. And then Neal fouls Brannigan, and it's a free kick to Oxford United. Oxford lead 2-0. Sorry about that.
You tell me, what are we trying to do going forward? We've got no pattern of play, have we? We keep the ball, yes, we keep the ball, but then what? There's nothing happening around the 18-yard box. We do not look a threat.
Cumming will take the free kick for Oxford. In the middle pretty much of his half. The players congregated over on that far side, just inside the Sunderland half. It's pushed on by then coming to the edge of the Sunderland penalty area, the corner on the right, and it's headed away by Mepham. And Isidor's crashed to the floor. He's got hit in the head by Ben Nelson, who's also hurt. He's crouched on the pitch.
Just going back to that free kick, the second goal, Nick. You had a feeling that they were going to score because we give away a needless free kick on the edge of the box. We should have dealt with that ball. The ball was going to go out.
They're all over the place.
It was all over the place. And then when he put, when the Brannigan's round it, he fancied it and you're thinking, he's going to score here. It's good save by Patterson, but we haven't reacted. And we're 2-0 down. We give ourselves a mountain to climb.
Yeah, Hellick was the player that reacted the quickest, straight in to bury the ball. For second.
We talk about resting players and managing players, but at the present moment, Oxford want it more than us. And I know what you mentioned about, they might not want to get injured or whatever, but surely you want to win a game.
Harrison Jones and Tommy Watson warming up for Sunderland. Isidor's back on his feet. The ball with Trey Hume, and he plays it back to Luke O'Nien in the middle of the Sunderland half to Mepham. Of course, a win today will mean that Oxford are safe. They have no fear of going to Swansea, having to play to stay in the Championship. Optimistic hook forward by Hellick has gone out for a throw to Sunderland deep in the Sunderland half on the left-hand side, closer to the corner flag than where
that was up and under, but what it's done is shifted them 40-50 yards up the pitch. That's what we should do at times.
Blackburn 0, Watford 1. Interesting as well, looking at the foot of the table, that Plymouth winning today, they've really given themselves a lifeline. As Sunderland bring this ball out, and then Hjelder slips over and gives the ball to Plaheta. And now Vaux down the line to Rodriguez, inside to the pole.
Nothing.
Plaheta, who's lost it, and Dan Neil out to Hjelder. Now Lafay, Sam Long slides in on him, takes him out. Free kick to Sunderland, wide on this left-hand side in their own half. Oxford 2, Sunderland 0 in the 56th minute.
We've got nothing going forward. I'm sorry. We don't look a threat that we're going to score.
Well, haven't looked like scoring goals for a few weeks now. Not really creating any chances today either, which is a worry. Isidore having to chase Ben Nelson, but Nelson gets in front of him and turns the ball out for a throw to Sunderland on the far side. The Sunderland right, just back in, just inside the Oxford half in the end. Mepham takes it eventually to Hjelder on this left side and wide to Lafay. Lafay, and he's got Plaheta in front of him, plays it back to Hjelder, back to O'Nien in the centre circle. In the middle is Job. Job holds off Rodriguez, gets it out wide on the right hand side to Hume, inside to Roberts, back to Job. Job back to Mepham, and Mepham on the halfway line wide then, and it's slipped inside by Roberts to Job, but a loose ball, and Plaheta's onto it again here, running at the three Sunderland defenders. Plaheta's still going, he's still going. Job comes back to try and get the ball off Plaheta, but he's still got it, and then turns it inside, and it's played back eventually to be intercepted on the left wing by Lafay from Vaux, who wins it back again, but concedes a throw.
But even when Lafay's won the ball there, Nick, he's got no options. There's nothing.
Hjelder with the throw, back to O'Nien. O'Nien across now to Chris Mepham, and Mepham bringing it up to the halfway line, and suddenly closed down by Goodrum and Rodriguez. And Goodrum gets the ball off Mepham and is away down the left wing. Mepham having to get back. Goodrum at the edge of the penalty area. He's got Rodriguez with him. He rolls the ball back to Brannigan. Brannigan urged to shoot. He does, and just over the bar.
The question is, the likes of Chris Mepham losing the ball there, he'll turn around and say, I've got nothing to hit. I've got nobody to play the ball into. There's no movement.
The ball being passed around at the back by Sunderland. Patterson kicks it up over the halfway line. Helic heads it on to Hjelde, and then it drops for Vaux to Plaheta, and Rodriguez back to Vaux, out to Plaheta again on this left side, right side for Oxford, looking for Rodriguez. It's turned away in the end by O'Nien at the edge of the penalty area to Dan Neal, and then on to Chris Rigg up on the halfway line. He's done well to turn Brannigan here and slip it through if he can to Isidore, but Nelson gets in front of him again and holds off Isidore on the touchline. Plays it onto the head of Hume, forwards to Isidore, who does well to bring it down for Patrick Roberts just behind him, and Roberts now to Jobe. Jobe has Lefay to his left in the penalty area. Lefay is trying to come past two defenders, clips the ball in onto the head of Rigg and comes off the post. Rigg's header hits the left post. That was probably the best little spell of football Sunderland have achieved all game.
It's a great ball in by Lefay.
Rigg hit the post. Rochdale 4, Hartlepool 1. But it's still 2-0 to Oxford United at the Kassam Stadium. The ball on halfway again, with O'Nien down the left to Lefay. Lefay down the left of the penalty area, crosses, drops for Rigg. He tried to control it, but then Lee puts his foot through it to clear it up into the centre circle. It's tapped away by Neal to Jobe under pressure, and then back to Neal and out to the left again to Lefay. Lefay in front of him is Sam Long. Lefay trying to shake him off. Long blocks the cross. It's a throw in the corner on the left-hand side for Sunderland.
You can see they might make a substitution in. They can try to put Lefay in the middle, aren't they? Bring Watson maybe on the left-hand side.
I did wonder about that, but yeah, make a change. He wondered even Isidore playing wide left rather than the middle and put Lefay in the middle. I don't know. They need to change something, don't they? So Hjelde has a throw here. 10 yards from the corner on the left. Finds Jobe. Jobe back to O'Nien. O'Nien to the edge of the centre circle, Mepham. And Mepham, Rodriguez just in front of him. Mepham rolls it out to the right to Hugh. The cross blocked by Goodrum. It'll be a throw to Sunderland. Drops to Rigg. Rigg back to Mepham on halfway. Across now to O'Nien. Just under half an hour left now. Sirkin's warming up, as is Salis and Alan Brown. It's with Jobe. It's 2-0 to Newcastle against Ipswich, who 10 men this afternoon. And the ball played across by O'Nien to the Oxford left. An advantage played after a foul on Goodrum by the referee, Tim Robinson. It's played in towards Harris, but O'Nien gets in front of him and the ball comes back to Patterson. Rolled out to Hjelde. Wolves 2, Leicester 0. In the middle, Dan Neal of his own half. Plays it wide to Hume. Hume to Rigg, leaves it for Hume again. He slips over as he tried to get the ball out to Lefay. Sam Long intercepts and leaves it for Will Vaux, who plays it back behind him to Helic, scorer of Oxford United's second goal. Long forwards again to the halfway line. Leaves it for Harris, who leaves it for Plaheta. Into the middle now to Rodriguez. Rodriguez down the right to Vaux. Lefay trying to get it back. The Welshman plays it back though to Sam Long, and Long back to Helic. And Helic plays it back to the goalkeeper, Jamie Cumming, former Chelsea keeper, signed in the summer. Down the left wing, it's swept forwards by Ben Nelson. And then Goodrum, behind him is Lee. Lee out wide again to Goodrum, and down that touchline to Rodriguez, inside eventually to Brannigan at the corner of the penalty area. And Brannigan now just flicks it back behind it to Goodrum, to Lee. Goodrum again. Roberts wins it back for Sunderland. Rigg, and now Rigg gets it back again from Hume, back to Dan Neal, trying to get the ball forwards. Eventually there's a foul on Roberts. It's a free kick to Sunderland. Jobe ushered back by the referee as he tried to break over halfway. Booking for Vaux. Third Oxford player in Tim Robinson's notebook this afternoon. 64th minute, Oxford United 2, Sunderland 0. It would take Oxford to 52 points if they win this afternoon.
He's got to be careful, Vaux, and he's really wound up.
The referee's speaking to both Vaux and the captain, Brannigan, in the centre circle at the moment. Hume's waiting to take the free kick on that right-hand side. Vaux has had his telling off. And Hume will tap the ball to Neil, back to Hume, and Hume back again to Mepham. Mepham plays it across to O'Nien here, and O'Nien back to Patterson. In the D at the edge of the Sunderland penalty area. Patterson back to Mepham on the right-hand side, and Mepham on now to Chris Rigg. Rigg to Jobe at the back of the centre circle. Jobe taking this into the Oxford half, out to Lefay on the left, back into the middle to Jobe. Jobe to Neil. Neil wide on the right to Trey Hume. Roberts is there as well. Here's Patrick Roberts now, and he plays it back to Dan Neil. Neil forwards to Roberts. Roberts in the centre now, clipping a ball in with his left foot, headed away from Jobe by Long. Comes out to O'Nien, down to Hjelde on this left-hand side, leaves it for Roberts, who nearly got caught by Vaux, and the ball cleared again by Oxford into the Sunderland half. 65 minutes. I'm wondering if we're going to see Sirkin soon. Blackburn won, Watford won. Dennis Sirkin, I think, might be about to come on for Sunderland. And the ball has come back to Cumming, the Oxford goalkeeper. Sirkin's right wrist is heavily bandaged. It's disappeared out of view at the moment. Wolves 2, Leicester 0. Below us, as we look down from the back of this main stand, but I think with it being 65, 66 minutes now, we'll see him coming on soon. Ball's gone back to Patterson. Oxford fans felt that Mark Harris was fouled in that move. The referee disagrees. The ball comes back to Patterson again. He taps it to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien out to Mepham on the right. Oxford lead 2-0. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle in the 66th minute here. Long has his eye on it, heads it back to the goalkeeper in the penalty area.
That's the first save he's had to make.
You're not far wrong. Not far wrong. Jamie Cummings not really been tested, has he? He's not really been tested this afternoon by Sunderland.
Have we had a shot on goal?
No, it's been, Riggs' header off the post. It's been a relatively comfortable afternoon for Hellick and Nelson, and so much so that both of them have scored. The ball forwards from Vaux, and then Gjelder's caught in the face. O'Nien's caught in the face. The player involved, Harris, I think it is speaking to the assistant. Referee's come across here. O'Nien's back up on his feet, and just a word from the referee. The free kick taken by O'Nien to Jobe. Inside then to Dan Neil. Neil just slipping it through the middle, finding Rigg, who lays it off to Jobe. Jobe out wide here on the left-hand side to Lefay. Lefay, Long goes with him. Lefay is going to play it back now to Hjelde, and Hjelde back again to Luke O'Nien. And O'Nien, there's going to be a substitution made by Sunderland. I'm sure it's going to be Sirkin. The ball's played back by Rigg to Mepham. Mepham down the right again to Hume. And back to Neil, on to Rigg, leaves it for Roberts, cutting into the centre. Roberts on his left, trying to play through into the penalty area for Isidore or Lefay. But Oxford get the ball away again, comes all the way back to Luke O'Nien, who pushes it on to Dan Neil, wide to Hjelde, tackled by Pleheta on this right-hand side for Oxford. Behind him is Long, and Long hooks it up into the Sunderland half. O'Nien battling with Rodriguez. There's a lot of shirt pulling going on here, and the ball eventually out for a throw to Sunderland. '68th minute. Sunderland, the fourth official, Carl Brook, has got the board, and he's keeps looking back at the Sunderland bench, which we can't see, but the change, as to say, is imminent. If the ball is played out on the right wing to Trey Hume. Over halfway, still going, slips it through the legs of a defender to Patrick Roberts in the middle, who plays a lovely ball to Lefay at the edge of the penalty area. Lefay now trying to tee up Jobe. He didn't shoot. He's trying to take the ball into the penalty area. A block on the shot of Chris Rigg comes out to Patrick Roberts, and Roberts now on the right-hand side. Roberts plays it back behind him to Mepham. Dan Neal's calling for it. Dan Neal on the left of central midfield, bringing this forward to the edge of the penalty area. Out to Hjelde on the left. Hjelde to the goal line almost. Crosses. It's going to be headed clear by Goodrum. Comes to Mepham, who nods it out wide on the far side, where it's put back in by Rigg. Off the head of Sam Long, out into midfield again. And Watson is coming on. That's going to be one change. And Sirkin are going to come on for Sunderland. There'll be two changes at least that I can see down below here, as Joe does well to shake off two Oxford players, then gets the ball to Neil, who's crosses and floats away behind. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Portsmouth 1. The substitutions being made now.
I wouldn't be sorry to try to get the fee in the middle.
Roberts is coming off. Millwall 1, Swansea 0. Millwall in the hunt for the playoffs, of course. So
Roberts
comes off and Hjelde comes off. Circuit get 20 minutes plus. Takes up his position at left back. Tommy Watson's on the right wing. And so 2-0 Oxford lead. Goal kick to the home team in the 71st minute now. And coming kicks over halfway down the left, headed on by Joe, but one back by Oxford, then Mepham. Back to Neil, out wide to Trey Hume. Comes off Goodrum, but gets to Lee. Lee on the left side, looking to try and float it through the middle, but clear it. Out to Joe. Joe does well to hold off Harris, who felt he was fouled, but it was the other way round, and Joe takes the free kick. Runs on to Lefay here on the left-hand side, on the halfway line, inside to Dan Neal, forwards to Chris Rigg, who let it run through to Watson. Watson now in the penalty area, tries to cross, and it's put across the face of goal by Ben Nelson, and behind for a Sunderland corner. That could have gone anywhere.
Could have done. Well done, Tommy Watson. Good ball in.
It's the third Sunderland corner. Comes on the left-hand side here for Enzo Lefay to take. Watson's over on this left-hand side as well, the corner of the penalty area. Lefay,
good ball
towards the far post, headed away and out by Ben Nelson for a throw to Sunderland. A couple of yards up from the corner flag on the right. Trey Hume will take the throw. Rigg coming across, Watson's jogging across. Hume needs a bit of help over there. And Rigg trying to shake off Goodrum. Watson, but it's going to go into the penalty area. Nelson heads it straight down to Lefay, who tries a bicycle kick, but wide of the post. And a goal kick for Oxford in the 72nd minute, leading 2-0 still. Lefay picks himself up. He's okay. And a double substitution being made by Oxford. Now, Matt Phillips is forward, is going to come on. And Rodriguez is being replaced by Alex Matos. Oh, they've changed their minds now. Phillips is, so where are they? Matos is coming. Placetta's come off. And Phillips and Placetta, and also off. Well, Matos is on. Rodriguez off. So Alex Matos, who's on loan from Chelsea, 20-year-old, spent the first half of the season on loan at Huddersfield. He's on, as is Matt Phillips, the 34-year-old Scottish international, who's gone up front, or just behind Matos and Harris here on the right-hand side for Oxford, as Job tries to get forwards now to Rigg, to Job, through to Isidore, slips it to Hume, Watson slips, and Lee tries to get away on the far side for Oxford. Throw though to the home team, 2-0 they lead. Lee will take the throw over on the far side. Greg Lee, down the line it goes, into the Sunderland half. Mepham heads the ball away. Vauxhall puts his through it in the air. It's an up and under out to the touchline on the Sunderland right, but Matos puts his foot in and then loses it.
Done.
And Rigg comes away with it, surrounded by yellow shirts. He goes down, but the referee, well, he's taken a look at it and he has given the free kick.
He has that delayed action.
There was a delay, wasn't there then?
You're right.
Tim Robinson making the decision that he eventually did. Free kick taken, comes back to Dan Neil in the centre circle. Just over 15 minutes left to play. Oxford 2, Sunderland 0. Live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Here's Lefay on the left-hand side. Back to O'Nien. Lefay down the line here to Sirkin. Cuts inside, plays the ball back to O'Nien. O'Nien across to Mepham. Mepham on to Rigg. Rigg now to Neil through the middle. Neil rides one challenge, but Lee puts his foot through it, clears it all the way back up to Patterson. Patterson then to O'Nien. He's given the ball away to Harris, and O'Nien has to recover it. Playing it down the left wing to Lefay. Lovely touch to control it from Lefay. Job is striding through. He's offside, it looks to me, but the flag has stayed down. And Job now on the left side of the penalty area pulls it back to Sirkin, who crosses. Looking on the far side for Hume. Rigg let it drop over his shoulder. And now Watson back to Rigg into the penalty area. Block on Hume's shot. And Nelson will get the ball away for a throw to Sunderland on the far side. Wigan 1, Blackpool 1. Here's Hume to grab a ball. We're waiting for an injury. It was Vauxhall, I think he was caught just at the edge of the penalty area. Tim Robinson happy now. It's back with O'Nien on the halfway line. Sirkin to Lefay. Back to Sirkin. Sirkin back to O'Nien. From the halfway line, he drills the ball down the right wing. Watson will chase it, runs onto it in the corner, keeps it in, and plays it back now to Hume to cross. Long headed away from Joe. There'll be another throw to Sunderland. Hume with it. Back to Mepham. To O'Nien now in the centre circle. Neil. It'd be very interesting if Sunderland can pull a goal back here now. Neil through to Job, try a little back heel through for either Isidore or Lefay to roll on to, but it's come back to the goalkeeper. Southampton 1, Fulham 1. Long's gone down for Oxford, and Sunderland are going to make another change. Salis is going to come on.
Who's going to come off for?
Normally it would be Dan Neil. It's going to be Brown as well. So 2 changes imminent for Sunderland. Salis and Brown. Sam Long still receiving treatment. 4th official with the board, ready to. The Lefay is coming off for Brown. So Enzo Lefay comes off. And for Salis, the player coming off, or Long's coming off here now for Oxford. It's Dan Neal. So coming on for Oxford is Hidde Terrevest, Dutch right back. Terrevest, 27-year-old Dutchman.
Coming up right back on him.
Yeah, it's a natural straight swap for Sam Long. Ball is back with Cumming. So the ball played down into the corner on the right for a throw to Sunderland. Phillips is penalised. And a free kick, in fact, it's been awarded in the end, which O'Nien's going to take. O'Nien drives it up over the halfway line. Headed on by Isidore, but then Terrevest plays it back onto the head of Job on halfway. Isidore in the middle, lays it off now to Hume. Hume wide on that right-hand side. And it's picked up by Rigg, played back again to Mepham. Rolls it across to O'Nien, coming up to the halfway line. 10 minutes or so left to play. It's floated down to Brown. And he puts the ball in the penalty area, but it's headed away before it drops to Watson. Cheltenham 2, Carlisle 2, but that's still not enough to keep Carlisle up. They need a winner. Blackburn 2, Watford 1. Here's Joe, gets the ball on the left of midfield. Slips it back inside to Salis. Salis now to Mepham. It's inside the Oxford half. Matos on the shoulder of Mepham. It's played out to the right wing. Rigg battling over there with Goodrum. Goodrum wins the throw for Oxford United in their yellow shirts, dark blue shorts. Sunderland in their white. And the goalkeeper's just had a word with Greg Lee before he goes to take the throw for Oxford, who lead 2-0. They have done since 3 minutes into the second half. Both centre halves have scored for Oxford this afternoon. The ball bounces into the Sunderland half. It's in the air. Hume comes back, nods it back to Salis, who plays it back to Patterson. Matos goes to close him down, but Patterson passes it out to O'Nien. O'Nien has got Sirkin wide on the left-hand side. But O'Nien taps it back to Patterson.
Do we look as though we're going to score?
No. They've looked better in the last 10-15 minutes, but they still don't look.
I bet a little bit more tempo, but you know, you're 2-0 down.
Yeah. Here's O'Nien, on to Job. Salis back to O'Nien, and Job again, closed down by Matt Phillips, gets it back to O'Nien, on to Salis, plays it to the left here to Sirkin. Sirkin to Job, just yards from him, and Job on this left-hand side back to O'Nien, and O'Nien trying to play it up into the penalty area, into the arms of Jamie Cumming, the goalkeeper. He falls on his knees with the ball at his chest, and then jogs back across the penalty area. Preston 0, Plymouth 2. So Plymouth are giving themselves a lifeline. Preston are not really entirely sure of safety. They'd probably be okay, but technically they could still go down. Here's O'Nien, plays the ball to Patterson. And Preston's last game of the season is at Bristol City. Bristol City will possibly still looking to claim 5th place. Coventry lost earlier today, if you haven't seen the results, to Luton. Here's Sirkin to O'Nien. O'Nien on the halfway line, on the left of the centre circle to Salis. And Oxford are getting everybody behind the ball. Sunderland trying to work it through. Mepham gives it straight to Greg Lee on the left-hand side, who hooks it back up into the Sunderland half. In the 84th minute, it comes back to Patterson. Gets it out to O'Nien. O'Nien down this left-hand side. Watson's come over to the left now, taps it back to O'Nien, through to Salis, and back out to Watson on the left-hand side, just inside the Oxford half. Brown is playing through the middle. Salis is in the centre circle. Ball onto Sirkin, wide to Watson. Rigg is wide right. Watson plays the ball straight through the penalty area, down the left and out for a goal kick. Oxford 2, Sunderland 0.
You've got to say it's a very, very disappointing performance, Nick, especially when you're talking about making them changes and everyone's thinking, okay, we're bringing a bit better quality in, hopefully we'll up our level of game, but it hasn't happened. In fact, we've struggled.
Well, I think, when you look at the keeper not actually technically having had a save to make, Rigg had a header against the post, but other than that, they've not been stretched at all, have they, Oxford at the back? Ball up into the Sunderland half, drops for Sirkin. He's trying to get Watson away on this left-hand side, who slips over and gets the ball inside to Helic, who gets it up into the halfway line. Sirkin gets it to Salis. Back to O'Nien, back inside to Salis. Across to Mepham on the right. Mepham bringing it up to the halfway line. Forwards to Rigg, back on halfway, Salis to Job, then to O'Nien, out to Watson on this left-hand side. Watson, Sirkin on the overlap. Watson's attempted cross-block by Phillips. Watson gets it back and then slips it to O'Nien, just behind him. Newcastle 3, Ipswich 0. Here's Salis. Salis to Hume on the right of midfield, wide then on the far side to Rigg again. Brown in the penalty area, and the throw at the corner for Sunderland. Brighton 1, West Ham 2 in the Premier League, and Rigg will take a throw back to Salis, and Salis now out. Well, he's played the ball out under pressure from Matos. It's a throw to Oxford, just back inside their half on the left-hand side.
Tell you what, they'll have to do some work this week and in the Queen's Park Rangers game, Nick, to get momentum, because we're all over the place this afternoon.
A little bit like Queen's Park Rangers earlier today, who lost 5-0 at home to Burnley. There's a Oxford player down, so he's going to receive some treatment. We're into the last 5 minutes of the game. If you're just joining us on BBC Radio Newcastle, Oxford United lead Sunderland 2-0. The two centre-halves, Ben Nelson and Mikael Helic, with the goals for the home team, who will be safe. They will be in the Championship next season with this win, because I think you can't see anything but an Oxford win with the time left and the way the game has gone this afternoon. Mark Harris is back up on his feet for Oxford. The phone-in follows, of course. You can give us a call, 0800 234 6565. Harris is coming off. He's getting a standing ovation. Mark Harris. I'm trying to see who's replacing him. It's Elliot Moore, the defender, the centre half.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's going to be a double switch, because also coming on,
Joe Bennett, is it?
It's Joe Bennett, a defender, yeah. So Lee has come off to be replaced by Bennett. Natural switch again. Elliot Moore, who is 6'5" as well, comes on. Bennett will go left back, replacing Greg Lee. And Elliot Moore comes into the back four. Do they go? They think they've gone a 3, haven't they, by the looks of things? For this final 4 minutes or so, 3 minutes. Oxford lead 2-0. Text us, if you like, on 81333. Put BBC at the front of your message, or you can WhatsApp us again. Put BBC at the front of your message, 08000 321 treble 3 as Matos takes the ball down into the corner on the left. The ball rolls along the goal line. It's a goal kick in the end, which is just tapped by Patterson to O'Nien, out to Sirkin on this left-hand side, and back to O'Nien, who plays it out on the right wing to Trey Hume. Hume crosses, looking for Isidore. His control lets him down. It will roll behind for a goal kick.
It's going to be interesting to listen to Reggie Lebreese's, shall we say, review of this game, where it all went wrong.
He's not got the momentum he would be hoping from.
No, you know, he's talking about resting players.
Choice of players.
Yeah.
He's lost a bit of sparkle somewhere.
Spark and fight.
Yeah. Greg Lee, who's walked round the pitch, has got a standing ovation as he heads into the dugout. There were 11,431, the attendance here. O'Nien plays the ball across to Hume.
Number 16,
Hull 0, Derby 1. That's a massive goal for Derby County. And well, all the implications at the foot of the table. Here's Sirkin on the left. Cherenes tried to get the ball off him. It's got to Watson. Watson back to O'Nien. Now Watson. How much time will we have added on here? Corner for Sunderland. 6 minutes. Sunderland have a corner. They're fourth of the game. Short from Watson to Hume. Hume's cross blocked by Bennett. It bounced awkwardly the ball. Then Matos drives the ball out past the Burger van through the car park and
into Sainsbury's.
Into Sainsbury's, is it? Another corner to Sunderland on the left-hand side here. Hume.
You're just looking over there at the Sunderland supporters who've travelled all the miles up here. And we haven't given them anything to cheer about, have we?
Not really. Not really.
Nothing.
Tim Robinson's seen some pushing in the penalty area, so he's called a halt on proceedings for the moment. Now he's happy. Played nearly a minute of the minimum 6. Hume curls this ball in. Oh, it's just palmed over the bar by the goalkeeper. Don't think it was going to creep under the bar and in, but it's another corner to Sunderland as we go into the second minute of the 6 being added on here. Hume returns to the corner. Hume then from this left-hand side curls it into the 6-yard box, palmed down by the goalkeeper, punched down to Vaux on the left. Brown closes him down. It's a throw to Oxford in front of the remaining Sunderland fans. I can see a lot of them drifting through the car park now back to their coaches and cars as they've resigned themselves to the defeat this afternoon. Sunderland. The throw down the line from Bennett. It's come back out for another throw. We played 2 minutes of the minimum 6 now, and Joe Bennett will have yet a further throw on the far side. The Oxford left down into the Sunderland half, headed away by Mepham, comes back to Jobe into the centre where it's thumped forward by Hellick, and it will go out for a throw to Sunderland 15-20 yards from the corner on the left. The referee wants the throw taken from the correct position. It goes back to Patterson. It's left for Jobe. Jobe coming away with this now to Mepham. Mepham on the right-hand side up to the halfway line. The ball given away. It's swept past Joe Bennett. It'll run back to this because he's closed down by Chris Rigg, who's managed to keep it in and then won a free kick. So well done, Chris Rigg, for that perseverance on the far side. 3 minutes left. And the free kick is virtually on the touchline on the right-hand side. It's 6 yards or so from the corner on the right. Oxford leading 2-0. And it's whipped in by Hume. Mepham trying to get his head on it. A slip by Sirkin, but it runs to Job, and Job now just rolling it into the middle to Chris Rigg. Rigg clipping it up into the penalty area. Brown drives it back in. Watson couldn't get his foot on the end of it. It comes out to Matt Phillips. Sirkin gets the ball off Phillips, leaves it behind him for Job, and now Job in the middle to Rigg again. And Rigg back to Job on this left-hand side. Job to Sirkin, slips it to Watson. Watson pulls it back in the air, though it's cleared. And, Brannigan felt the back of his knee then, just stretching the Oxford captain, but he's got the ball out. Sirkin takes the throw, back to Job. Job across now to Hume, back in the middle to Mepham, just in front of the centre circle. Floats it up to Sirkin, who heads it behind for a goal kick. We're into the 5th minute of the 6 being added on. Brighton 2, West Ham 2. Wolves lead Leicester 3-0. The ball with Jamie Cumming, placing it on the 6-yard line on the right-hand side for the goal kick for Oxford United. 2-0, the win will seal their place in the Championship next season. And Cumming now with just over a minute left, kicks up into the Sunderland half. Brighton's 3, West Ham 2. The ball is put out. It's a throw to Sunderland on their left, but deep inside the Sunderland half. O'Nien to Salis, back to O'Nien, who miscontrols it, and it rolls over his foot for a throw to Oxford United.
And that sums up our day. Our game today.
They barely laid a finger on Oxford this afternoon.
No, we haven't. We've been poor.
It's with Matos. He's pushed over by Alan Brown. It's a free kick to Oxford United on the right-hand side with, I make it 20 seconds remaining. Vaux just rolls it down the right of the penalty area to Tara Best. It's stabbed out by Sirkin. It's a throw in the corner for Oxford United. Only seconds remain now, the minimum 6 minutes. Oxford leading 2-0, Southampton 1, Fulham 2. And here on the right, well, it's over. Tim Robinson blows. Oxford United secure their place in the Championship, and Sunderland have a lot of work to do ahead of the game against Queen's Park Rangers next week.
Yeah, and you can see what it means to Oxford United. You know, I think that result keeps them in the division. But you don't know where to start with Sunderland. Very, very disappointing performance. And what do you put it down to?
Too many changes.
Too many changes, but even then, Nick, you weren't at it with I just thought they looked lethargic. Going forward, we was not a threat going forward.
Missing Mienda, aren't they? He at least gets on the ball and takes players on. He is a big miss.
Yeah, he is. Again, I don't know. Wilson Isidore, he just seems as though he was lost. He didn't know where to make runs. It didn't cause him a problem at all. But it weren't just Isidore. Defensively, again, I just thought we were easy to get at. Especially the first 45 minutes, especially from them long throws and set pieces, we struggled to deal with it. And I think, it summed it up for the second goal, Nick. Straight after half time, they would started on the front foot again. The ball's in the box, and we stopped. Nobody reacted to the ball. They took it for granted that the ball was going to run out. They retrieved the ball. It ends up at the edge of our box. They win a free kick, and again Brannigan's on the ball, and he just felt that they were going to score from it.
Sunderland's players have headed over to the Sunderland fans in the stand on the far side. In fact, they've all gone over right up to the advertising board over there. Stewards in a line just in front of them, but
I think Reggie Labrise has told them to go over.
Regis Labrise, I think you might be right. has told the players to go over
and
to
again,
the fans
there's
on the far side.
Anthony Patterson coming off his, and again Luke O'Nine's going across. But then you just look at, for instance, Anthony Patterson coming off, and you're thinking, could he have done better with the first goal? Could he have come out? Could he have come out and did this box?
The second one, the Brannigan free kick, he saved, but the ball spilled into the path of Mikael Helik, who